Hello and welcome back to the show, everyone. I'm your host, Levi with Mailbox Money, and today's guest is Jeff Pickett. Jeff is a partner and director of video strategy at Forefront Studios, where he helps businesses use story and strategy together to drive real growth, not just views, but measurable results. Jeff, welcome to the show. We are so happy to have you here, sir.
Thanks. Happy to be here as well.
Yes, sir. Here's the part where I give people a little bit of room to give their personal background, let the audience know who they are and where they're coming from.
Yeah. I've been in the Sioux Falls area since the late 90s. Grew up, went to school at the University of Missouri. Always had an affinity for marketing. Did a lot of, excuse me, consumer marketing for Hot Stuff Pizza. Did some healthcare stints at both Avera and Stanford here in town. And then a few years after that, decided to get into video. I did my own stint called Media by JP. And then after a couple of years, I got together with my business partner, Vince Don, and we founded Forefront Studios.
Very awesome. What yeah, obviously, like you said, you kind of been in the area and marketing for a while. What originally pulled you into that space?
Um, Video was not as big back then as it is now, but we had done a couple of commercials with Mid-Continent Communications.
Hmm.
And I always really enjoyed those projects. I enjoyed the storytelling. I enjoyed, when it's done right, the transformation that you should see in a good story, kind of the emotions that go into that. And I wanted to reinforce a world that's not so apathetic, but more empathetic. Um,
Very,
I,
I
I,
like
I
that.
I see myself as someone of great empathy. When I was growing up, my grandfather could watch a movie or a TV show and kind of sneak a tear. And so I get that from him, that more personal side to storytelling is something that I think I do in honor of his memory.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think that's something that, especially like you said, kind of in the marketing space, that can be left on the backside, and to hear someone bringing that to the forefront, that's very cool.
Yeah, I think that the challenge we see in today's marketing is it's either too transactional or it's too surface level. And so we kind of hit that sweet spot when we're dealing with businesses, when we're dealing with nonprofits. It's about the story that you're telling and you're doing it well. I think there's a lot of businesses out there, when the owner is waking up in the middle of the night, they're not thinking about brand awareness. They're thinking about, how am I going to make payroll? How am I going
Yeah.
to sell more of my product? And there's a way to do both through good storytelling.
Can you take us back? Kind of, you mentioned you had was it JP Media? Is that what it was
Media by
called?
JP.
Media by JP.
Yeah, yeah.
Take us a little bit. Tell us the transition from that into Forefront Studios and what that looked like for you.
Yeah. I think everybody that does video production typically starts doing weddings. I was no different. And so I did that. That eventually then kind of morphed into droning. And then that morphed into doing some uh, nonprofit work, some for profit work. And that's fun. It's very expensive when you do this on your own. Equipment for video production studios can be extravagant as you try to keep up with the Joneses. And I had hired Vince for a project, and I enjoyed working with him. And we thought, two heads are better than one. And so, kind of the little internal dialogue that we throw out to customers is, you get this person, but in our case, 1 + 1 = 4 because Vince has that marketing background and the strategy side of things. And so we feel like we can offer quite a bit of value for our customers.
Amazing. Kind of speaking to that level of value and stuff, you talk about measuring and stuff. What is it that most businesses you see get wrong when they're trying to market themselves?
It's a good question. I'm very passionate about this point. Businesses are largely doing it wrong because they're too busy talking about themselves. So imagine going to a chamber mixer and you're talking with somebody, and all they do is talk about themselves. Let's say it's a plumber. We use this example a lot.
I
I'm
don't even
talking to
have
this
to
plumber.
imagine that those things really happen at those kind of
Yeah.
things.
So
Yes.
you go up and this somebody, somebody's talking with you and they're a plumber and they ask you nothing about your situation, but all they want to do is talk about this brand new sink fixture that they have. And 5 minutes becomes 10 minutes, becomes 15 minutes. And never once have they asked you if you own your home or if you live in an apartment. And so every 5 minutes that goes by, it's like they're handing you a bowling ball, this burden, and you're losing your time and it's becoming cumbersome to keep up with this conversation because it's so one-sided. So what we really talk about with our clients is we need to take our customers and we need to elevate them. We need to make them the hero of the story, and then we as the business owner are the guide. And so it's similar to in the movies, whether it's Rocky or it's Hunger Games or it's Harry Potter, in all of these movies and TV shows, there is this theme, there's this formula that good storytelling uses where your key person, the hero, will only become a hero when they have a guide. So if I have a plumbing problem, I'm the customer, I'm the hero, but I need you, the plumber, to give me the fixture to solve my problem. So there's a win-win if we can combine both of those, but it's a lose-lose if the business is just talking about themselves.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense right there. I got pivot off for a second. Now it's kind of the second time you brought up a movie theme, first with your grandfather in there. I'm getting the sense you're a movie guy. Is there a favorite movie of yours that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I have a varied degree in movies, but I would say probably my favorite would be Aliens 2.
Wow.
Just
Why?
because it's a Jim Cameron movie. A lot of people don't realize that he
Mm-hmm.
was involved. I've seen all the different director's cuts and everything. I don't know, call me goofy, but there's no emotion to that movie, just sheer terror, but it's a lot of fun to watch.
I love it. I love it. So then, kind of going back to what you guys are doing, what's it look like when a client comes to you, and says, "Hey, we need help with this." What's kind of the first steps, taken there?
Yeah, we really do dig in deep with each client, and we're typically asking them, "What are your goals?" We did have a client recently that came to us and they proposed this idea that they wanted a podcast, and I'm like, "Well, but what are your business goals?" And we found out very quickly that what they needed to do wouldn't be solved by a podcast in an example. They really needed a different approach. And that surprised them. I think they thought, well, I'll tell them what I need and they're going to give it to me. Well, we will give you what you need, but we want to make sure that the strategy's aligned. So we do a pretty in-depth conversation, a little bit of a discovery call, if you will,
Yeah.
and we want to find out, what's the problem? Is it sales? Is it recruiting? Do you need to talk about your culture? There's a lot of things that can really elevate a business, and it may not be exactly what meets the eye at first glance, but then as you dig in deeper, you find out, okay, I do need something maybe a little bit different than I thought.
No, a lot of people, I'm sure they're struggling. Sometimes marketing something that they struggle to justify as a spend in their business, right? How do you help your actual clients think about an ROI when it comes to storytelling and video?
So one of the things that we'll do is like, I mean, first off, we do video production. We kind of stay in our lane. We do video production, we do photography, and we don't see ourselves as a marketing agency because we know people that we can work with or hand people off to. Um, but we're very intentional about the video and also about the strategy and then that return on investment. So if we feel like we can't get our clients at 10x ROI, then we don't want to work with them. And we tell them you're not ready for that just yet. We would suggest that you maybe go over here and work with this. It can be challenging, admittedly, to get the numbers that we need for the ROI.
Yeah.
But we have worked with clients who have told us, for those that have tracked, that we've given them as high as a 15 to 20x ROI. One of our clients, I'll name drop a little bit, Tori Haggerty. He has a company called Tuscan Club Consulting, Started working with him probably 3, 4 years ago, just before COVID. And because of the work that we did with him around um, financial information pertinent to banks, fair lending in particular. Um, Tori's been able to launch two different versions of an educational platform that we created for him. And then from the money that he was able to create off of that stream of revenue, he's gone on to write several books and become a bestseller in his category on Amazon. He's been a TEDx talk, had a TEDx talk also, and he has told us, like, the amount of money that I've made from my business, you guys have helped generate that ROI. And so that's an example, just one of the examples we've got for the work that we do and why we like to do what we do.
Amazing. Do you guys only work with local companies then people who can physically, or is there a more national reach out too?
Yeah, yeah. I love that you brought this up because this was just recent. Yeah, we do work with with a national footprint, but also I guess you could say international also. We've worked with
Wow.
companies as far away as Canada recently that had a little bit of a footprint here with some local farmers in Iowa. But just last week, we did a project with the American Hospital Association. And because I have a healthcare background, I was telling my partner Vince, I'm like, dude, do you realize how cool this is? We're this local small business in Sioux Falls, and we just worked with and crushed it for the American Hospital Association, which is a big deal. They have
Yes, it is.
a lot of clout on the national stage in healthcare. I mean, they're the ones that go to get legislation, lobbying, and the decision makers that they impact are is pretty big deal. So we were super pleased to do work with them last week.
Very good. That's good and exciting stuff to hear going on. Like you
Yeah.
said, a local small business being able to do that. Amazing. I wanted to ask you, Jeff, from where you're sitting, what trends are you seeing in the market or storytelling that people should be paying attention to?
Can you say that one more time?
What kind of trends are you seeing out there in both marketing and storytelling that people should be looking at and paying attention to?
Yeah. I'll give you some positive and some negative. I think
Beautiful.
the positive trend, and it's maybe it might be even kind of after a little bit, but I referenced before about the hero and the guide, and that kind of language comes from the author um, Donald Miller, who wrote a book called Story Brand. It's a really, really great book, and it's where we borrowed the ideas off of stop talking about yourself and talking about your customer. The negative trend that we see, and I have to say this because we're as a video production company, but AI is not the positive there way he thinks it is, and here's why. In social media, everybody tends to kind of do the trend. In fact, when you look at the TikTokers and the Instagrammers, anytime that you scroll through, you'll see somebody do something, and then you'll scroll down, and the same person will just copy what that person did. And for us, that's what we see in AI is somebody is saying, hey, make a frog sing a tune standing next to a kitty cat and make it look like it's a Pixar baby or whatever. People understand that what you're doing is kind of taking the cheap way out. People also understand that if you're doing that, you don't really know what you're talking about with storytelling. You're just keeping up with the trend. And I understand that many people do it because their budgets might be limited. But I think the more that you invest in your clients, your customers, the more they're going to want to invest in you. And that's where we feel like, you know, honoring the client by telling good stories is the best way to get your point across instead of trendy AI stuff that may be here tomorrow or may not be.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely missing the human touch side of things and the person that, I think a lot of people see through it. Maybe not as many people as I'd like to give credit to, but still a lot of people see through it. You say that just that the trend of those characters, pop the AI picture of doing a caricature,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's definitely a follow in line type thing that
Yeah.
people are getting wiser to.
Yeah, I can't recall the study, but obviously there's people always looking to beat down on whatever idea is out there. But there was a study done on how quickly the human brain can perceive AI, because we've seen Coca-Cola, I think, was one of the first companies that used AI for the Super Bowl. I think actually not last year, but the year before. And I forget what it is, but usually within 5 seconds or less, we know that that's not
Something.
real. And so now it's kind of created a problem, because now when we are on social media, we see something amazing. We're already asking ourselves, is this AI or isn't it? And we know through the work that we've done, the best way that you can get your message across is with authenticity.
Yeah, very awesome. That leads me to some practical advice for other business owners out there. If they're listening and their messaging isn't clear, but they don't really know where to start, what would you tell that business owner?
I think, the first piece of advice I would give is listen to your customer. Oftentimes we get into a business because we're solving a problem that we had, and we found out other people had that same problem. And then we get successful in that. And then we decide that we can now jump into something that maybe isn't a problem, but it's something that we just think we need to do. Continue to ask your customer, what is the problem that they're having? And then when you find people who are advocates for your business, who would willing to be, quote unquote, brand ambassadors, have them, speak on your behalf, because then you can leverage the social capital, if you will, of their group. And now that group now becomes your group as well.
Yeah,
And if you kind of do that, the exponential returns can be really good.
awesome. Jeff, looking ahead for you, yourself personally and for Front Studios, what are you guys most focused on building right now, and what does, the next 5 years or so look like for you guys?
It's a great question. Staying alive is probably the biggest goal right now. No, last year was shaky for, I think, for a lot of businesses, and now that we've got, 1 year passed on a new White House administration, things are starting to calm down finally a little bit anyway, at least this week.
For
But
the yeah week.
yeah, who knows? Next week it could change, it could blow up. But yeah, we're just looking at the trends. But I think that the biggest thing that we are following that's worked really well for us is just having a really good process that proves to any clients that we work with that we're not just pulling, an idea out of our butt, but we actually have a process, and we show them when they come in and talk with us. We show them what we're doing. Some places you go to and you tell them what you want, and they use their creativity to come up with something, and it doesn't always fit, but maybe it buys an award for said agency.
Yep.
Our process is kind of the flip. As we're talking, the ideas begin to reveal themselves. It's not because we have these great ideas, it's because we have this process. And as we explain it to our clients, and as we talk about the science that we can talk about to explain that, things become evident. And we had just a discussion yesterday with a client, and they said, I wasn't really sure what you meant when you're talking about this process thing, but now that we've seen it, you showed us some examples, like I totally understand where this is going. And so what that means is that means less edits, it means less revisions, and it means that we're able to tell an authentic story that really speaks to the customer, which is the individual that's buying your product. And so everybody ends up winning.
Yeah. That led me to a question on, does it take your clients sometimes a little bit of time to see the vision of what you guys are doing, or do you find they kind of get it right away? What's that look like?
Yeah, I think it's not hard at all for us to go through the process that we do, where again, we tell them, as an example, we're going to talk to X number of the customers that you identify. And rather than just assume that everybody is ready to get on camera, we're going to pre-interview them, and we're going to talk with them about what are the challenges and how did they overcome those struggles? What was the transformation process that they went through? And basically we're looking for the best stories. I think in the past with other customers we worked with, a couple of years ago before we got into this process. It was, a client would give you the list of names and you go talk with them and you do your best you can. And we're able to be more efficient, definitely more value driven, um, by kind of vetting out people to see what they have to say and how they say it. And by the end of that, once we explain it to our clients, they totally can buy into what we're talking about.
Very good. Jeff, for someone who is listening that either wants to just connect with you guys or maybe seek out your services, where's the best place to send them to?
Our website shows examples of the work, the clients we work with. So that's just for the letter four and then frontstudios.com. Other than that, like we're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and then on Vimeo. Also, if you search for Forefront Studios on Vimeo, you'll find some examples of our work there as well.
Amazing, amazing. Well, Jeff, thank you again for your time today. It was awesome, to hear that that empathy side of things in the marketing world. I think it is needed, and I'm glad someone's bringing it to the forefront again. So
There we
thank
go.
you.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see everyone on the next one.